Let's go into State of the JUP. And here I want to welcome up to the stage Jupiter's co-founder, unconfirmed feline, Meow himself. Meow, how you doing?
Really good. Well, I think I'm pretty confirmed feeling at this point, right? Yeah, but anyway, so I think I just need to share a little bit more about the JUP, right? I think I'm here to share a bit about the JUP as a token and also the DAO, right? And the DAO and stuff. Obviously, there's been quite a lot of discussion over the last few days about the JUP and everything and stuff. First of all, I'm going to share some thoughts on the JUP. I think what we see JUP, right, is that we see JUP not as a meme coin, not as a utility coin, but really as an ecosystem token, where the main goal of the token is to kind of drive the growth, right, of the whole JUPiverse, right? We call it JUPiverse or JWP, right? I think it's about kind of how do you kind of constantly grow this base, right? Based on cadets, based on users, bring millions more users in, like really grow the cadet base, grow a very strong DAO, have a really strong team, have a set of really strong work groups, right? So I think that is actually how I kind of think about what we are doing here. It's not about one thing, but about kind of on the whole picture, how do we kind of drive all these things together? That's actually understanding like this whole thing as a whole. It's actually really important to kind of understand how we think about everything. So I think the main thing for the DAO to share is that the DAO vote is coming very soon. It's actually a really important vote coming next week, which will basically be the CWG budget. Probably everyone would actually see how awesome the CWG has been, right? In terms of being extremely fundamental, right? Not just to Jupiter, but also in terms of the whole entire community getting set up, right? So the vote for that is coming next week. And actually, I also talked about the DAO scope thing several times, but I think it'll be good to, since there's a lot of debate right now about DAO, I just want to kind of reiterate on kind of how we see the DAO, right? For the first year, the DAO will actually be focused on three things, right? Three main things. The first thing we focus on will be the LFG, right? Obviously. The second thing that we focus on is the CWG budgets, right? Right now we have three, probably have 4 or 5 by the end of the year, right? And I think it's actually really important for DAO to kind of understand what the WGs do and read the proposals carefully and also vote on the budgets, right? And then the next one is the grants, right? Grants actually a really important thing. So we're actually going to accelerate the grants process, right? To allow anyone to kind of propose ideas, right? So ideally, a lot of things that the team currently does, whether it's marketing events or whether it is public goods, anyone can actually propose a grant to DAO. So one thing that's actually important here is that for DAO funding, there are two components, right? You have the operational funding and the incentive funding, right? The operational funding is in USDC. The DAO operational funding will be funded by the team, right? So for example, about 6.7 million came from the DLMM swap fees during the JUP launch. And then the team will be topping up about 3.4 million to make it 10, right? We'll operationalize the DAO wallet next week to have 10 million of USDC. Right? That should actually be a very strong budget to start working on a whole lot of things here. And one last thing I want to share is that apart from a DAO, I think there's actually a lot of things that we could do with a lot of community feedback, right? So obviously not everything will go through a DAO, right? But I think one thing that we will actually do a lot more as a team is to really start going through a team, going through a community, for things that might be controversial. For example, the swap surf thing where it happened a couple of days ago. But those are things that I think we actually had discussed a lot with the community, and that's on me. So in summary, we will slowly increase the scope of the DAO, and starting next week, really important vote is coming up, and I'm super excited about it. Grant process will be coming out soon. The wallet will be coming out soon as well. So that's it for me.
Excellent. So people, pay attention to vote.jup.ag to make sure you get involved in the vote next week. And if I'm not mistaken, that will also have the ASR active stake and rewards for anyone that votes.
So someone asked a question: is the JUP launchpad only? Is DAO only for launchpad? No, actually, DAO is actually not only for launchpad. DAO is actually going to be for a number of things, right? For example, launchpad. For example, the WG voting is a big one. One very important thing to understand is this, right? It's like we are all about growing the JUPiverse, right? The mandate of the DAO and the team, everyone and stuff, is to actually grow the JUPiverse, right? So I think there's going to be many grants coming up, right? So yeah, I think the DAO will have quite a lot of things to vote on, I think. Yeah.
And then from a JUP for JUP perspective, whether it is an LFG vote or a working group vote or a grant vote, those are all incentivized as well or rewarded for people who vote. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%. So all votes are the same, right? So there's no differentiation between whether it's an LG vote or a grant vote or WG vote, right? It's all treated the same. Yep.
Fantastic. This is the JUP for JUP mentality, folks. The more you participate in governance, the more a part of the JUP ecosystem you get to become.
J4J is the core idea for the whole JUP thing, right? Basically, the whole thing is, okay, we want to get JUP in the hands of JWP participants, right? Whether user or your voter or you are a WG member or your participant, right? That's the whole thing, Because again, the whole point of JUP is that it's an ecosystem token, right? So the whole point is that ecosystem must grow. So I think that's actually a really big part of how we do things.